Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. With my colleagues Tram and Alex here, just give us a moment or two. We're going to let just go to the 201 here before we get started, to let anybody who may be joining just time to settle in. Awesome. Yeah, thanks so much, everyone, for joining. We will officially get going here. Maybe we will just jump to the next slide. I'll introduce the lovely folks I get to work with. So I myself am James. So I'll be just kind of doing the intro and chatting with you about some of the fun changes we have coming up and some of the announcements even. Our colleague Tram, who doesn't get to be front center as often as she definitely deserves. So Tram is the magic as to why Sherweb is where we are positioned around everything modern work and M365. So welcome, Tram, and thank you so much. Alex, you've probably seen on every Sherweb webinar ever, but he is our program and incentives manager, so infinitely knowledgeable in the Microsoft space, as many of you know. And then Nicholas Tang as well, so he's our product marketing strategist. So for all things that you see publicly, putting this together, working on the slides, some of our general messaging as well makes a huge part of what we do. So just wanted to introduce everyone, and Alex today for a change will be off camera for a good part of it. He will be moderating the chat along with Nicholas. So if you do have questions, thoughts, ideas you'd like us to kind of bring up here, I don't believe we have a full hour of content. So we'll hopefully let you go about your day a little bit sooner. But in the meantime, if there's any thoughts at all, again, Alex, Tram, myself, and Nick are here to make this as interactive as possible. So with that being said, we can jump right in. So we had a couple of topics we're going to cover today. So the first one being the NCE overview. So essentially just some of the changes, some of the updates, what's a little bit more top of mind going forward. We'll also look at some new features that we have available to you as part of our Cumulus platform. So for those of you who are perhaps newer or haven't dealt with Sherweb just yet, we do have a great online platform for license management, all things billing as well, and many more features, not to downplay that whatsoever. But there's a great new feature we'll be able to touch on with you here. And then finally, legacy and the three-letter acronym we should not say, we're all trying to get away from, but NCE here. So are some changes in that regard as well that we'll touch on a little bit later on. As I mentioned, feel free to use the chat at any time. We'll be answering, and even you might see Alex pop up if we get some really fun ones. We'll address those live. This will be recorded, so the recording will be shared with you once again. And these slides will also be available. So any of the links that we have in here, again, you should receive those normally in 7 to 10 days following the presentation today. With that being said,
yes,
all yours. Thank you so much.
I'm going to start with the unfun part maybe, but since I see that there are a few people here on the call, and the last, I think, official webinar we did on NCE was around February, March. We kind of really wanted to take the time before I dive into updates, recent changes, kind of just to give some refresher. So for I guess everyone who's already full on board and knows everything, it's probably a little bit repeating some information you guys are already aware of. But for some other people, just in case you're not sure anymore what NCE stands for, what it does, what it means, what basically changed this year for the whole channel, I kind of just wanted to give some refreshing, a refresher on this topic again. So what is NCE? Really on a high level, NCE, what it stands for is New Commerce Experience from Microsoft. And it was basically changed from them that they wanted to have a unified billing platform, as you can see written on the slide, which basically provides resellers or even disties like us new tools to manage subscriptions. So basically, a lot of people who were already in the channel probably already were aware that this was already on Azure side. But now Microsoft basically moved everything seat-based cloud offers to the forefront as well, meaning things like Microsoft 365, Dynamics 365, Power Platform, and Windows 365. All those offers were basically, moved to NCE or offered to NCE. And basically kind of saying why they're doing this, right? So Microsoft said we're bringing new sales capabilities, we're delivering operational efficiencies for resellers and partners and whoever is on NCE, and driving long-term customer commitment with different multiple term options, which are monthly, paid monthly offers, annual paid monthly or annual paid upfront, or even like 3-year offers. So basically, in a nutshell, that's kind of like what NCE stands for and what it is. And basically on the next slide, I want to kind of like go over the key changes, because with all, I guess, like this change, especially at the beginning of the year, there were like definitely some major changes, I guess, like introduced with NCE. So I kind of like just want to make sure that everyone is hopefully up to date on the latest ones, especially with the first one, because Microsoft did change a few things during like months and weeks of NCE. So let's say the first one, like one of the key changes with NCE now is that you basically have a cancellation policy of 168 hours or 7 days in order to cancel any of your NCE licenses. Like meaning, if you add an NCE license today, you basically have 168 hours to cancel it or to reduce any seats. After those like 160 hours, you're basically locked in your commitment term, and you can only increase but not decrease or also not cancel. So I think that was like one of the major changes with NCE, and I guess like a lot of people had to get adjusted to understand it. So kind of like wanted to highlight this here again. Speaking of reduction of seats, so I just said, so with NCE, it's always possible, I guess, like to upgrade or to add more seats during the term. But in order to reduce seats, you only have like the initial 168 hours. And it's basically both when you buy a new NCE subscription, but also if you add terms as seats within the term, like you can only reduce those seats within 168 hours as well. So those are kind of like probably like the two major key changes. And then I guess like in order, because it is a little bit more limiting now, right? Microsoft said, we know that a lot of people liked the flexibility of CSP, that you could cancel every month or kind of like reduce seats every month. So what they now offer basically was new monthly term offers and premium pricing. So basically telling you, in order to keep your flexibility, we can offer paid monthly offers, but they come with a premium pricing, which are 20% higher than the annual term subscriptions. And I guess specifically for this one, James, because I see you want to say something. We do have something we can talk about this later.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe another little touch on this and how we've seen some partners kind of navigate, right? This is definitely a shift from the flexibility we're all very accustomed to on the Microsoft side. So what we are seeing is, let's say if we're looking at a 100-seat organization or 100-seat org, well, then what we might see is, let's say 90 that'll adhere to the annual commitment. This way you'll maximize your savings. And then maybe for those last 10 seats, well, there you might take the hit, so to speak, in regards to their premium pricing on the monthly plans. At least that way you do have some form of flexibility while getting the maximum benefit from the commitment for the first 90 seats. So I just want to share again, this is something that we see from a lot of our partners, how they're going about it, and just trying to make it a little bit easier and a little bit nicer for everyone here.
Yeah, and I agree. Like definitely with what you just said. Like we see a lot of partners actually doing this, and I think it's also the recommended approach from Microsoft to have, I guess, like this, like split between seats and subscriptions in terms of what you want to focus on. Yeah, definitely valid point. And I guess like for the two last bullet points here on the CSP transfer, so Microsoft has basically said for the time being that it's not possible to switch distributor. Like basically if you're with Sherweb right now and you log in your NCE subscriptions with us, that until the end of your term, you basically can't move those away. And it's like the same for other things, right? Like if you're currently somewhere else and you want to go to Sherweb, and you have already like locked in NCE subscriptions, you couldn't move to us. We can basically prepare everything for you to move at the end of your term. But for the time being, that's kind of like, I guess like Microsoft stands on it, that you cannot change CSPs if you're on NCE subscriptions. And I guess like maybe the last thing, which I found back in the days, back in February, March, very interesting when NCE basically was launched for trials, that there are a lot of NCE trials, but they have very specific requirements. The first one was that you have a 25-seat minimum. So you definitely, if you want to have an NCE trial, if it's available, you need to have 25 seats minimum. And those trials will basically auto-convert or auto-renew into paid subscriptions with the same amount of licenses. So I think that was always a very, I guess, interesting approach from Microsoft. I usually mention it's more like a first free month, let's say, or something similar, because it auto-converts. So I found it very interesting when I guess NCE was launched. So anything you want to add on here, James, that I'm forgetting maybe?
Nope. I think these are all super good points. The minimum one, again, for a lot of our customers, and as we hear through the channel, customers are always enticed by a free trial and wow, and so just to be mindful that um, free trials are, like Tram said, maybe not necessarily a thing of the past, but it's more of a freemium is where we're looking at it these days.
Yeah. Exactly. Awesome. So then I guess like moving forward to the next slide, which is kind of like the last NCE refresher, I guess like here, if you guys are listening and you're like, yeah, I'm aware of all of these things, so I'll get started with the new, I guess like updates. This is the last slide, I guess like on what is NCE, because I just wanted to highlight a few things on what has changed over the last months, because we all know Microsoft were also adapting, especially with feedback from us, from other, I guess like channel participants on like, hey, this is maybe not a good thing, and maybe you need to change this a little bit better. So Microsoft did change, and here, I guess like a lot of those feedbacks. So maybe the first one, which I wanted to say, is that the legacy incentives end. They basically had it for, I think, October 31st first, and then they moved it to December 31st. I know that Alex already had a bunch of webinars, so if you have any questions on like legacy incentives, changes, etc., feel free to look, I think, in our, like, I don't know, blog post, website, YouTube. We have like a bunch of very nice webinars Alex did here to kind of like go over those things. But I know that it's impacting a lot of our partners, right? That those legacy backend incentives are stopping December 31st. So that's kind of like one thing I wanted to mention. The second one, which I think was also a major change from Microsoft, that they basically indefinitely postponed the end of legacy renewals. They had a date for June 30th where they basically said you cannot renew a legacy anymore, you have to move to NCE. But based on feedback from the channel and I guess like from the community, they basically pushed it indefinitely for now. And maybe last thing, which I kind of like just mentioned, and also they changed to software subscriptions, is this new cancellation policy of 168 hours. I think they announced in July that it's also for software subscriptions. I think they had a different cancellation policy, and now it's also 168 hours. Yeah, so I think those were kind of like updates I just wanted to share, because it kind of like paves the way onto our other slides and why we're discussing a few things, to keep this in mind if you see, I guess like the other topics, especially James is going to talk about.
Yeah, and maybe just before we jump, just to touch on the first point here, so the deadline for legacy incentives. So as Tram mentioned, we did do a bunch of content, and I say we, really, I was co-pilot, and Alex did a bunch of really great stuff for us there, along with Nick and the marketing team and everyone else who deserves their flowers here. But we will have links to those in the deck that we'll be sharing following this presentation, so next week or so. And we'll be touching on, again, the legacy the pricing changes, let's say, as well, coming up here.
Perfect. So I guess like that was a little bit the past. So let's talk a little bit about, I don't know if it's the future because it's already available, but I guess like about now. So I kind of like just wanted to highlight, because I know that there were a bunch of partners asking us for like NC upgrades, right? Because as you remember what I just said, you can't cancel licenses anymore. So the only way for you, I guess, like to change those, let's say, is to upgrade it to a more premium SKU. And Microsoft did provide this, I guess, like functionality and feature in the past month. So we were working on our side as well to basically provide this capability in our partner platform, as James mentioned. So probably a lot of you have already gotten the email. We have also had a BEMA notification in our portal, kind of like saying, hey, there's a new feature. So we thought we'll take the time and just like show it to you, kind of like how it looks like. So far, feedback from what I've heard is that it's pretty straightforward, very self-explainable, and kind of like easy to use. So I hope if you weren't aware that we have this in our partner portal, that you, after this call or after this webinar, you are aware. And always feel free, I guess, like, to ask any questions. So basically, speaking of which, probably most of you are aware that this is basically how it looks like if you go to one of your end clients organizations, right? And you can see with all, I guess, like our modifications over the past months, I think it looks very nice now, kind of like showing you which kind of licenses you have, what the SKU ID is, like what, I guess, like how many quantities you have, the commitment term and renewal date, if it's, for example, like an NCE license, the price, the subtotal, and also your billing cycle. So as you can see, I'm basically going to walk through how an upgrade is made. So let's say in this case, we have Able Manufacturing HQ, and they currently have Microsoft 365 Business Basic NCE, which is monthly paid monthly. So let's say in this case, we want to upgrade maybe a few of those or maybe all of those licenses, right? So what we would do is basically click on this, and then you will see like a new pop-up feature, which should also be very familiar for you guys. So you can see that you have all different kinds of modifications you can do on the subscription. Let's say you want to edit the quantity, let's increase, for example. You want to upgrade, which we are going to do in a second. You want to maybe manage the renewal because we also do have some functionalities in that regard as well. Or maybe you want to cancel subscription if you were within your 160 hours cancellation policy. So I guess in this case, we just said, hey, I want to upgrade maybe some of my business basics. So I will click on the upgrade subscription. You can see that it basically tells you this subscription is eligible for an upgrade. So we're going to go on show options. And then we will have basically another kind of like window appearing, which shows you all of your different options, which you can upgrade your current chosen license to. So this information is basically fetched from Microsoft API. So we can basically see, hey, Business Basic, and you can see I marked it as a 6 year, for example, that there are like several options, but on the screen you can see you could upgrade it to Business Premium, Business Standard, Microsoft 365 A3 or unattended license A3, and you can kind of like scroll through those and kind of like choose the one you want to upgrade to. So that's kind of like the first, like what's your source subscription, what you want to upgrade it to, and then you see the options because we basically offer two options here. You can either do a partial upgrade, because I think in this example, I currently have 5. Let's say I just want to upgrade 2 of those. So I would basically choose the partial upgrade. Or if you say, hey, I want to upgrade all of those 5, you can also choose the full upgrade, like a switch at the bottom. So that's kind of like the overview. Like I said, what you want to choose it to. And I think in my example, I chose Business Standard. And I'm sorry, this picture is a little bit pixelated.
Should have been Business Premium, but I won't hold it against you.
True, I should have chosen Business Premium. But let's say for this example, I chose Business Standard. So you basically have 2 confirmation pop-ups just to make sure that people understand, hey, this is what you just chose. So it's like Business Standard. So you accept that subscriptions are subject to commitment term, right? Because we are an NCE. Basically click on next. And then I think I'm really proud about this one because I think the way how it's displayed is really easy. It's basically showing, hey, you had your source subscription was Business Basic, right? With this price, with this initial quantity, you're changing it, you're basically removing 2. So your final quantity for Business Basic is 3. And then you're upgrading 2 licenses to Business Standard. So you had 0 before, you added 2. So you will have 2 at the end. So I think this is kind of like a very nice confirmation, I guess, like screen, kind of like showing you what you just did and to make sure that what you just clicked on is the right approach and the right thing you wanted to do. And then we just have some, I guess, like information pieces in here. Basically, one saying the upgrade you're about to execute is non-cancelable. So if you upgraded it to Business Standard, you can cancel those because otherwise you kind of like would be shortening your term or whatsoever. So that would be like a little bit out of the rules. And then also just in general, because it can take a while just to check the provisioning queue until it's done. And the last one is that you might need to assign user licenses to the, I guess, like new users when upgrading. And I see Alex, you popped up. So I guess someone had a question.
Well, they had a lot of questions. I've just been answering a lot of them. It's just that this one that came up, I think, is worth mentioning out loud for everyone. So Jason wants to know, can you cover the process of what happens if we acquire an existing M365 tenant and wish to manage their licensing through Sherweb, given these new policies? So when he's talking about the policies, is that if he's acquiring a new customer that already has commitments with a different provider. So the main thing that you want to be able to do is to be able to manage, these licenses and manage the tenant. So you will want to create the organization within the Cumulus platform so that the relationship request is made from Cumulus. So you have access to this customer via Cumulus. And also from the partner center, you want to send that relationship request as well so that you, as a partner, as an indirect reseller, have access to their M365 admin center where you will see the provisioning of those licenses. So all of the existing licenses you will be able to manage For anything new that needs to be added before the end of their contract, you may start a new subscription from Cumulus and Sherweb. So let's say that they had like 10 licenses of Business Premium on their old tenant, and that they need 5 more licenses. You can start them on the show website. All 15 licenses will be available and interchangeable within the users internally. And then finally, it'll be to mark your calendar, or have some sort of notice for when their contract expires on the losing provider side, so that on the day right before, you add the same type of licenses on this side, so that when their licenses expire on the other side, there are enough licenses in the available pool of license, so that there is absolutely no downside or impact for the end customers to just go about their day to day. So now I'm going to go hide again and answer the 7 new questions that came in. But you're doing a great job, Sky. Continue.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and feel free to jump in, Alex. I think that's super useful, right? So we can obviously we stay very close to our partners. So what we're saying is not just kind of Tram, Alex, and myself who kind of thought this in a back room. It's really from feedback. So this is where we kind of see the validity of the content we present. But anything that's really topical, that's top of mind that maybe we haven't touched on, again, use that chat. You have probably one of the better chat reps you'll ever get to deal with, and Alex for the moment. And we'll always follow up after as well if there's anything that remains outstanding that we haven't gotten a chance to answer. So again, thanks for your feedback, for chiming in and voicing your thoughts. It even helps us tailor what we get to do for you guys going forward as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Then I guess like on my end for like this upgrade feature I wanted to highlight, the last slide kind of like I guess to sum it up is basically after you proceeded with all those steps and you kind of like I guess clicked on save and agree with the terms and you understood what you need to do, you basically can see this basically I guess like main summary of Able Manufacturing again, and you can see that we have 2 or I guess like 2 less business basics, so 3 in total, and you now have business standard 2 new of those, right? Because you just upgraded those. So as I said, the feedback so far we've heard from partners and customers is very self-explainable, pretty straightforward. So that's for that. I guess that's what I wanted to share because I know that our dev teams have been working very heavily on this. So I think it's something great to share.
Yeah, and there's a couple more things that we're really close to launching around some of the Microsoft changes in particular coming up here. So do stay tuned. As again, we're just looking to help, looking to provide value in any way we can. So again, your feedback as well is super appreciated in that regard. And
I currently see a question popping up, which I guess I can cover as well. I see that Motusi, I'm sorry if I pronounced your name wrong, but you were asking basically if you currently have Business Basic and have a Defender add-on, for example, for that, and then you upgrade the Business Basic to Premium, right, which already includes Defender, which I think is a very common use case here. How basically do you cancel the Defender, right, because it's already included in Business Premium? So the answer for that is we basically call it 2-to-1 upgrade. And there are good news and bad news. So good news are that theoretically it will work. So you upgrade Business Basic to Business Premium. And we do have a process in place to basically then cancel like the Defender add-on. The bad news on this is that even on Microsoft's end, it's currently not like fully automated. So we kind of like have to follow a kind of manual process in we have to submit a ticket to Microsoft saying, hey, we have just upgraded this one. Please cancel the Defender. Then Microsoft has to cancel it and we modify it on our end as well to match it. So it's kind of like a process we have in place. If you ever have those kind of like cases, feel free to reach out to your account executive. So you kind of like can follow this process. Yeah, but that's basically I just wanted to share because it is a very common use case.
Yeah, super. I'm really happy that came up. I can't believe I didn't think of it for how many times we've crossed that bridge in the last couple of weeks here. But super relevant. Again, keep those coming. Just the great thoughts that while it's top of mind for you, surely. We have a fair amount of attendees today, so surely it's on the mind of someone else as well.
And maybe I guess like last one for this one, because I just see as easy question to answer from Morgan. So when adding an annual license during the term, is the billing basically being held until the term renews, or is it prorated amount billed right away? So it's basically prorated billed until the remainder of the term. So basically, if you add a few licenses in between of your term, you will only have to pay like a prorated amount.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Super cool. Yeah, thanks, Tram. See, we're gonna get you front and center a lot more. That was so fun. Tram does a lot of our stuff internally as well, so it's not her first rodeo by any stretch. Good question, guy. Alex, how's it going?
Pretty good. Lots of questions. Lots of great questions. One of them that I actually don't know the answer, so I'm just checking if you guys know the answer right now. Otherwise, we'll have to check out with the team
You
internally.
don't know? Okay, this will be.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead.
I'm very scared.
And if you already did read that one out loud, I'm very sorry. Again, I'm a man. I'm unable to do two things at once. I just knew you were talking. I don't know what you were saying. So when upgrading a user license, if all licenses area are already assigned to users, how does it decide which users get the new upgraded license if you're not upgrading all the licenses? So say you have 10 business basic assigned to 10 users and you want to upgrade 5 to business premium. How does it know if it's Johnny, Susan, Steve, or Mark?
Yeah, so we do have a screenshot basically where it kind of like covered it a little bit, right? Like user license assignation, I guess if that's the word, may be required after the upgrade completion. So maybe in this case, like if you only do a partial upgrade, it might be that maybe you need to reassign some users to a specific license, if that makes sense.
So there would be a following step to go into the M365 admin center or from Cumulus with the license management to assign it manually to those 5 users, and probably as quickly as possible, because I presume the other license is removed, right? So, but there's not going to be any errors in the M365 admin center to say, users already using this, license is gone, or anything like that.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I'll go back to my cave.
Good. See you soon. Keep coming back. It's tons of fun. Excellent. So we're flying right along. Again, thank you all for your questions. They're really, it means so much. Again, just as we get to help and share your questions again, it's things that's crossed all of our minds. So again, don't be shy to share any of that. So for the last 10 minutes or so here, I have a bad news, good news. I won't say bad news necessarily, but not my favorite type of news to give is maybe what I'll say. And then some really great news, some of my favorite type of news to give. So here they are. So we are looking at a legacy price increase. So as Tram mentioned throughout the first half here, Microsoft's new commerce experience, so NCE, is the direction that Microsoft is going, and they are encouraging us all, whether with a carrot or a stick, but we are all getting encouraged to jump onto the NCE train. Again, this is the ultimate direction that Microsoft and us in consequence, and many of you will end up. Quick facts. So they indefinitely pushed out the end of the legacy renewals. This means anyone who does have licensing on the legacy platform can maintain these. You can renew, as I just kind of said in that sentence there. So this will remain available. At a certain point, as Tram mentioned earlier, it was thought to be deprecated, and then it was no longer available. Then it was, and a change from Microsoft when we were all very, very shocked of that. From there, the end of the legacy incentive. So this is one that, particularly for our base, who an overwhelming majority of which had the previous silver or gold competencies and now into the solution designations. Again, thank you, Alex, for all your amazing work on getting our base up to speed. But this is something that is also going to be changing. So the incentives will be going away on December 31. So while you can renew and you can continue to offer the licensing for us as Microsoft partners, and for you, more importantly, as Microsoft partners, the backend incentives we receive as part of our designations or the competencies will no longer be paid out. So you'll be getting, let's say, your last one, and I believe it's 3 to 4 months delay, so probably March-ish next year, but that will be the last one. Again, strictly for the legacy platform, NCE incentives will be unaffected by the end of year change. In consequence, so how Sherweb is going to have to manage this, right? So we're just like we're partners just like you guys. We have made the decision internally to increase pricing on the legacy platform. Again, the incentives are a big part of how we get to offer what we do. So knowing that's going to be affected, unfortunately, this is a change that will affect the entire channel, right? As it's top down from Microsoft. So letting you guys know that there will be an increase. So for all M365 and D365 licensing, or all applicable licensing more so, there will be a 5%. So you will see a slight increase for any of those seats billed as of January 1 going forward. Sorry, just wanted to say here. Sorry, I lost my train of thought here. But yeah, so it'll be it'll be important for you to do this transition again for your incentives. Something that we're saying you have to go about and do it by all means. We didn't want to impose this type of change, although Microsoft didn't necessarily leave too much wiggle room. So we just wanted to advise everyone. We had sent out some communications previous, so I believe this month and last month as well, just kind of saying this is what's coming. So again, you can absolutely stay on the current legacy platform without issue. You can also upgrade, and I'll use the term loosely here, as Tram just went through a license upgrade, but you can switch to or transition to the NCE platform. So just migrating those legacy licensing over to the new platform will help for you to maintain your incentives.
Yeah, and I guess maybe to add, because I think I know which train of thought you lost. Maybe you wanted to mention that this price increase will be basically on all applicable legacy in Microsoft 365 and Dynamics 365, right? Excluding nonprofit, education, and GCC and promo SKUs. So for those kind of offers, there won't be a price increase, only for, I guess, everything which theoretically has an equivalent on NCE.
Awesome. Yeah, and you only repeated that to me 3 times in the last week, so that's entirely my fault. It's back.
Alex.
Alex.
Speaking of repeating, I know this question may have been answered already, and it comes up often, and I think it's really, really important that partners understand the answer. So, does adding the NC licenses and deleting the legacy subscriptions cause any downtime on the Office 365 tenant? Or how would you go about making the changes to NC while the company is on production? So the idea is just like the old days of the CSP transfers, is that the first step is adding the new licenses before canceling the old ones, so that there is always a pool of available licenses for the users to use. The analogy that I like to use for this is that you walk into a room, you turn on one light, right? That's the initial licenses. And then before you turn off that first light, you turn on a second light so that it never gets dark in the room. So there's absolutely no impact for the end users. You don't have to warn the company that they have to sign out and sign back in or anything like that. It purely is an administrative change on your side, so you don't have to worry. You can do this at 3 a.m. If you're a night owl like me, it's not going to cause alerts or any issues.
Yeah, definitely a good point. And I guess also on the billing question, because I saw some of those in the chat as well. For those, if you do adding NC licenses and then removing legacy licenses, there won't be any double billing. So you will see on your invoice basically the amount from legacy licenses up until the day when you removed it, and then from that day on you will see the new charge, the prorated charge from the NC licenses. So there is no double billing occurring on the invoice.
Awesome. Yeah, another great question. Again, thanks team, and I say team really is our collective Sherweb community here. Again, there's a lot of us here today, so again, thank you all for your time and keep those questions coming. Honestly, it's so beneficial for everyone. I just love them so much.
Same. And I guess maybe to iterate again on what you just said, right? With the different options which we're offering here with a legacy price increase, and I guess what you can do. I kind of really want to highlight that we're basically giving this flexibility to you as your as our partner, right? You can choose for your own customers what's your best approach. Do you want to keep the flexibility of legacy, adding, removing licenses, canceling subscriptions? You can do that, but then with this 5% increase. Or what a lot of our other partners are doing, because maybe you need to keep your incentives as well, right? Moving January 1st, or you kind of I guess want to get it done with and put everyone on NCE, then you kind of can do that. So you keep earning your incentives and et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, we kind of wanted to, I guess, keep this flexibility and options for you.
Yeah, that's it, right? So for us, and again, just to resubmit our position here, we're an extension of your team. We're here to just provide options to make it a little bit easier to help you sift through and even just stay up to date with a lot of the changes that have occurred and continue to occur, quite honestly. So again, we're having to brainstorm on any of this as well. So you reach out to your account rep. We'll explore some additional options if for whatever is possible. We'll give our 2 cents and give you again just as many options as possible.
Alex.
Yes. and this is confusing me because I'm thinking about it too much. So I'm going to ask the room. When adding annual licenses during a term, is billing for the added licenses being held until the term renews, or is the prorated amount billed right away? So again, annual licenses, prepaid yearly. On day one, you get charged for the whole year ahead. 6 months into it, you want to add some seats to that existing subscription. Is it going to be the following month or at the end of the term? So in 6 months that you get the prorated charge plus the new yearly charge.
Yeah, and I did answer that, but I know that you're super
Great.
focused on the chat. But it's basically the first one. So like if you add those annual licenses, I guess like after 6 months, you will basically get it on the next invoice for the rest of the remainder. So like I guess like 6 months on the invoice.
Okay, so you would get a partial charge for the 6 months for the users that you've added in the middle of the term. So obviously the term stays, it doesn't create a new term, but it's not on the next billing invoice. Okay, great to know. Thank you.
Right.
Welcome.
Yeah, it's often pay first and candy later is and how it goes. Awesome. So we have one last section. So I said out a little bit of the bad news. Again, this isn't necessarily bad. It's an adjustment to the channel it's very top down. We got some options, so it wasn't all bad, but I think this is so good that the previous content becomes okay. So do more with less. So hopefully some, if not all of you have heard of this great initiative from Microsoft. There is absolutely a promo. If you're like me, that's the first word I see on the screen here. So there's absolutely a promo. I would say it's a little bit more of a methodology as per me. So idea is to really help customers essentially consolidate. So again, this is very much second nature for most of us in this side of the channel. But it's in an effort to consolidate, to provide better tools that offer more security, better efficiency, better collaboration. Again, keeping this all concise and all a little bit easier to manage as well. So this is the kind of logic behind the do more with less, or DMWL, as you may have heard elsewhere. Also, our friends at Microsoft will be doing a webinar on do more with less coming up early December, I believe the 5th, if memory serves. So you can go and inform yourself a little bit in greater detail on that. We will also be doing another webinar. I'll show you in just a moment here, touching on this and various other programs. For the crux of the matter, though, I'll stay on topic here. This is a promotion that Microsoft has put out to help with the transition. So again, it's the idea of consolidating and making it easier. And obviously, the legacy to NCE hasn't been met with an overwhelming amount of positivity from the channel. So Microsoft is looking at ways to soften this for both ourselves and for yourselves, most importantly. So what does this mean? So this is approximately 16.7, or precisely, rather 16.7% discount when we look at the NCE monthly licensing. Okay, so the ultimate goal here will be to transition from the flexibility of legacy on the previous platform, maintaining that flexibility without getting the price premium for the monthly plan. Right, as we touched on earlier, when you go to commit to an annual term on NCE, your pricing will remain very similar to what it was on the previous platform. But if you wanted to go to monthly, well, then there would generally be a 16.7% increase in the price. Once we do the numbers there.
Yeah, it's like 20% increase, but in order to get to the same price, I guess like on annual pay monthly, you get a 16.7 discount.
Yeah.
Math.
Yeah, well,
I had to calculate it as well, but yes.
It's like, I feel like it's in the presentation of it, but yeah, so 20%. Again, I defer. For anyone who knows me, I'll defer to Tram. She's just that much smarter. But yeah, so we'll go. So that premium essentially can get avoided. Is really one of the big benefits of this. We can see there are three. So for some of you who have seen this program previously, it was initially launched in September with the first two criteria only. Hence why we didn't make too much noise around it. It was a little bit more cumbersome to manage, to apply, to validate, and some of the hoops that we get to go through. But now it is been expanded. So again, now we're looking at new Microsoft customers. This is brand new to Microsoft, not new to yourself or yourself. Sorry, Alex, I'm 2 points to see though. Existing Microsoft customers upgrading. So this could have been an NCE customer upgrading to a more premium product. They would have been able to take advantage, and they still are. And the most interesting, as per me at this time, is going from the legacy CSP into the NCE or the new commerce experience on a monthly term. These are the three kind of customer segments or the ideal audience for this promotion.
Do you have a question for the promo, Alex?
Yes, this is a question about Cumulus. Is there a plan in the future to allow us to restrict the product catalog globally instead of per organization? So this is talking about the available offers, the catalog that is shown per organization. Is there a plan to customize it, restrict it, the views on the available offers at the root level, at the partner level, or in the future? I guess you understand the question.
Yeah. And I guess I apologize, but I can't answer this question because that would be a perfect question for the product director of the platform. So we can definitely take this internally and get back to whoever asked the question with, I guess, written confirmation from our product director of the platform.
Okay. Thank you.
Super good one. Again, really, really good questions to know. If it makes your day easier at all, again, when I keep trying to pull questions out here, it's really that. If it makes it easier, if it could help, if you see a benefit, if you don't understand why, again, we just want to make it a little bit more clear and give as much insight, as much guidance as is available within our team.
Yeah, and maybe on this slide, it's shown there, right? But maybe I guess to emphasize it again, that I guess one which I thought very interesting and what you kind of mentioned is that Microsoft did listen to feedback, right, when they first launched this promo, and we were looking at it, we were like, it's nice, but it's not really applicable to a lot of people because it was just net new customers or existing upgrading, but it wasn't anything for legacy. So it's great that Microsoft gets listened to this feedback from the community. And I guess the other one, or maybe two other points. One, that this promo specifically is only for 6 products, which you can see on the screen, which is very interesting because Dynamics, for example, they have a very similar promotion, but for Dynamics, it's applicable for way more licenses. I guess I don't know why Microsoft decided it this way, but I kind of wanted to, highlight that there is a similar promo on Dynamics, but you have to be very specific about the products which are eligible. And then maybe lastly, that this promo is basically running from now until June next year. So as James kind of mentioned, right, is it really there for you to, I guess, incentivize you to move to NCE and without the restrictions and commitments, and basically using this promo so you don't have to pay the 20% premium, but still keep the flexibility. So I guess it's a good way from Microsoft, and that's why we're also presenting it today, to incentivize anyone to move to NCE.
Right, so it's maintaining the incentives as what we kind of we touched on earlier, as well as maintaining the flexibility when we look at this type of initiative. As John mentioned, it ends in June, so this means that you'll benefit, or your customers and you will benefit from the pricing until June, at which point it will renew on the monthly. So we would suggest then to perhaps jump in earlier to adhere to the annual subscription. This way, you're unaffected. Essentially, so you wouldn't have a price increase. You would go from the annual paid monthly pricing, as you'll benefit from through the promo, and then carry on after June.
Yeah.
Good, and those are the 6 heroes there. Again, my guess is that that's where we see the bulk of Microsoft licensing from a per seat. So that's probably why those 6 have been targeted more so. Good. So again, we just wanted to put some more info, I guess, just a little, again, some ideas, some thoughts, some inspiration, if nothing more. So whether that be from acquiring new business, maybe those who are a little bit more hesitant and then locking in, well, now you can offer them the flexibility. Again, it's a big part of this one without having a price premium. It's a huge value there. And then the transition, again, it's going to be a really big part of it. And then I'll touch on it maybe in just a moment. We have some upcoming webinars where I'll dive into it more. But the idea is that we'll have 2 avenues. So especially when it comes to net new, you might be looking at leading with the team's essentials. And then if we see we have some traction there, we'll then upgrading to or offering a more premium license, something like a business premium, again, as an example. Good. So we'll share this. We'll also share a link to the landing page. Feel free to take a look online. Do more with less in SMB. So this will also be something that's available for you guys to go and dig into a little bit more. And as always, we remain available to help clarify any of this.
Yeah, and maybe to add, because I think I saw somewhere asking, I think V2, it was your question, how does the SMB promo kick in? And I guess like also someone else, Chris, I think I can't see your full question, but if I guess like how the multi-promotion will be applied. So as you can see on the previous slide, right, it is very specific. There are like some requirements you have to meet and some eligibility requirements. So I guess in order to facilitate it easier on our end, it's basically, we'll treat it as a retro perspective promo, let's say. So if you want to get this promo every time we receive something from Microsoft for you, basically just poke your account executive that you want to get this promo and we'll put you on the list. And then moving forward, you don't have to do anything. And if you were eligible for any discounts, we'll basically just forward it to you on your next invoice.
Perfect. Yeah. So very little to do. Again, just to let us know this is something you'd like to leverage. Easy peasy, and we'll take care of the rest.
Yeah.
Awesome. I think we have one last slide. Again, you'll receive this deck after, so all of the links that are here, as well as some of these amazing links here. So when we were speaking earlier, just saying how we kind of dove into the Microsoft Partner Network changes, what it meant for silver partners, for example, for our colleagues based in Quebec or in the any Francophone market for that matter. You can definitely take a look, as we did a French rendition as well. And then even dove into the partner solution designations, or solution partner designation rather, those as well. So there's various videos. We'll have links there. You can also just take a look at us on YouTube. Alex is he's a star, so you can take a look at that. 11:30. So we just look down at the bottom. We had the incentives update. So that was very recent. That was done just last week. Today, we are in the NCE update. So again, the recording of this session will be available normally in the 7 to 14 days following today. And then next week, just because we're not done for the holidays yet, on the 6th of December, we'll be having a webinar again. So with Alex and most likely one of our colleagues from Microsoft, diving through some of the various partner programs that are available. So whether that be Do More with Less as a great initiative, SMB workshops, the land and expand framework. There's too many for me to rattle off in the last 5 minutes here. But we're just hoping to bring a lot of value. Again, just some of the tooling that's available to you that Microsoft has put out, that we've put out. Again, so you'll have access to all of this, again, as soon as we send this over to you.
Yeah. Awesome. So I guess, oops. Oh no, I wasn't. I thought I clicked too fast, but I guess like QA session. Alex, if you want to, I know that I wanted to answer one, which I think I've seen pop up in the chat a few times, which is not necessarily about, I guess, like the NCE upgrade feature, which I just presented, or the promo, but a few people were asking about co-termination, right? And since you are with NCE, you could have, in the worst case, like all different kinds of anniversary terms, depending on when you, I guess, like bought those licenses. So I kind of like just wanted to share that we are working on our end as well to offer you some, I guess, like capabilities within our partner portal to basically align all of those subscriptions to the same, I guess, like latest end date. So I guess like we'll keep you posted. We're working on it, but there should be something which we can share hopefully soon.
Super good one. And yeah, and like I was saying earlier, there's always something that we're working on. Something I probably could have done or should have done way earlier on in the webinar for anyone who has sat through the last 49 minutes with us here, and I was not quite aware of who Sherweb is or what we get to do. This is a quick slide as to just some of the reach that we have and some of the ways that we're able to help. Again, this all from having a dedicated account rep to access to our pre-sales team, professional services, NOC services, outsource help desk, you name it, we like to be able to help. We recently added QuickBooks as well. So really, whatever you're chasing, do let us know. Whatever's in your backyard, whatever's home to you, let us know. We want to make our marketplace a little bit more, as welcoming as possible. So that's just kind of Sherweb in a nutshell. Again, it's simplifying the cloud, simple marketplace, best-in-class vendors. Again, and always just looking to make a difference and help really in any way we can. Awesome. So with that being said, 7 minutes, unless Alex is just inundated with the questions and he can't hear us.
I think he's super focused on answering the questions. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to get as many of them down before you close the webinar. But no, I will not be able to get to all of them. So for I think the last now like 10 questions, because they keep coming in, and I swear I've been answering a lot of them. Uh, we'll have to get to them. I think you said like within the next 72 hours. Is that our
No,
Seven, 7 to 14 days, Nick. We're sorry. Yeah, it's 7 to
Okay.
14 days.
7 to 14 days.
Over. What we may also do, just given the volume of questions, again, for Alex not be able to answer questions, is like it's the first time I've heard it. Sorry again, thank you so much for putting those all in there. We'll even try and come up with an FAQ as we send over the deck as well. So maybe the ones that we see the most frequently, we can answer, and for everyone else individually, one by one, we'll get back to you all. For this, I would say maybe a 72 hours is a little bit more apt, but again, we'll get this as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I can take maybe one of the newest one because I see. So Alex, you don't have to answer it. Mark, your question, because I think you were away for 5 minutes. For the do more with less promo, I did mention that there is a similar promo also for Dynamics products, and it's I think even nicer because it has way more products included. So feel free to reach out to your account executive. They should have the information available for you.
Awesome. And there's a do more with less link or site that you can just plug it in Bing, obviously. You can plug it in there and you will see Microsoft do more with less promo be available.
Awesome.
You want to do, we have a couple minutes, Alex. Is there any questions that you thought were particularly fun or?
Oh, well, lots and lots of them, but I think that Tram had the best idea of like an FAQ, because a lot of them, are about the same type of concepts, and the other ones are related to Cumulus and how things are going to be displayed.
Okay. Yeah, I guess like maybe since we still have 6 minutes left, and I saw a comment from you, David, which is very interesting because I've heard it somewhere else as well. So I guess I just want to get back to that, and especially Alex, since you're here, and maybe James, maybe you've heard something, but I haven't. He was asking, besides the Sherweb 5% legacy increase, I've read that some sites that Microsoft will also be raising CSP rates by 20%. Can you confirm what the total amount would be? And I can say on my end that there isn't any price increase of 20% on CSP. So I've heard, I think, some other disties phrasing it's very similar to that, but I guess at least on my end, from my understanding, it's not coming from Microsoft. So they are not increasing the CSP prices flat by 20%.
Yeah, and there's also the fact that because a lot of people took advantage of kind of getting in before the deadline on the price increase in March, now the chickens are coming home to roost, and so you have to have that timing to go along with the end of incentives, with the NCE pricing structure, with the 20% premium if you go on the monthly. So it is bringing about a lot of noise from the community. But yes, like Tram said, no, I have not heard of anything from Microsoft increasing CSP rates by 20%. I don't believe it would be something that they would do twice in the same year.
Every year.
But of course, you never know.
Never say never.
I shouldn't say it too loud.
But as far as documentation or announcements, blog posts, conferences, internal meetings, no, nothing of that sort.
And there was a very interesting question, which is, I guess, not necessarily NCE related, but it's something in general from Microsoft. So from you, Nathan, which I found very interesting. So I'll just talk about it, I guess, more from my product manager, I guess, head on. So it's basically that Microsoft announced that moving forward next year, they will basically review non-USD pricing, I think, twice per year. And then they will always, I guess, adjust other currencies based on conversion rate to better align, I guess, their pricing. So I think you were asking if there's any more information you can provide. So besides, I guess, the Microsoft announcement, not really. So we're kind of looking internally, I guess, how to.
Okay. But I think that one I answered as well in the chat. And when reading that announcement and the fine print, it is for things that are not on CSP. Because everything that's on a CSP is under the Microsoft customer agreement process or hierarchy, and it's all already in USD. So then whenever you want to get a cashback or an invoice of some kind, it's converted on the day of, if necessary. For a lot of our Canadian partners, they have bank accounts in US dollars, so that conversion never actually occurs. But we're not liable for this. It's all non-CSP programs that did offer in local currency pricing that now will be reviewed on a biannual basis.
Perfect. Even better. Now you got your answer from Alex, so I don't have to do anything.
Our favorite type of change, the ones that don't affect us.
Exactly.
Awesome, great. So I think with 2 minutes to spare, unless there's any kind of last minute questions, we may just let you go about your day. Again, just a reminder, the deck as well as the recording will both be made available shortly. And in the meantime, do feel free to reach out to your account rep, to Alex and myself, for anything that we can do to help with.
Thanks a lot for all the questions. I did not see the time go by, not at all.
It was fun.
Super great. So again, on behalf of the entire Sherweb team, again for those you see on screen, and for all the dev and the marketing and the support and the product and all the people you don't see here today, again, just a big thanks for being part of the community here. And we'll see you next week on the Microsoft programs, or Microsoft this month, as we're calling it.
Perfect.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone.